Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go! And right away we have some of the awesome news coming from Zaporizhia direction near Kamensk. Ukraine started the counterattack. Well, before there was the information that Russia could start their attack in this direction, but no, Ukraine takes the lead. And you know guys, roughly 2 months ago Russians tried to assault across this dam. They even took some of the ground, creating the bridgehead, but later on their attack was repelled. And Russians definitely suffered tremendous losses, by the way, as today. You know guys, that I review military maps not just in Ukraine but in other countries. I like this geopolitics and strategy, but to simulate the tactics and to make it more interaction, I sometimes play strategy games. Today's video is proudly sponsored by Conflict of Nations. Imagine commanding an entire nation, making strategic decisions and leading your forces to global domination. In Conflict of Nations, you will dive into the real-time strategy experience set in the modern era, where your tactical skills and the long-term planning are the key to success. This game offers persistent matches that last for weeks, allowing you to build alliances, research advanced military technologies, and outmaneuver your opponents on massive scale. From stealth fighters to nuclear submarines, every unit you deploy can turn the tide of battle. Click the link in the description to play the Conflict of Nations for free right now and start shaping the fate of your nation day. Alright, let's return back here so we see that Ukraine liberated a very important part of the road and also the part of the small settlement in this area. And you know, it seems like Russia hadn't had enough forces to repel this Ukrainian strike. From the north reports, we have the video that Ukraine definitely moved towards this very small settlement, but the assault was successful. And they confirmed that yes, Ukraine crossed this river, reached this road, and may continue the movement. So it's very important stuff for Ukraine from the tactical perspective. First of all, here we see the Russian defense lines, which are the part of the Russian big Surovikin line. I'm very happy to start this video from the very good news for Ukraine, because every ground gain is very important, first of all, for Ukrainian morale. Yeah, later on we're gonna discuss about not so good situations coming from the front lines, but now let's concentrate on positive stuff. Well, first of all, there was the Russian attack which failed, where Russians used electrical scooters. Yeah, several months ago I saw the photos how Russians use scooters, but I thought it was a joke. But actually guys, as you can see over here, it wasn't. Well, it's beyond my understanding, because I tried to ride the electrical scooter and it's not very convenient outside the good pavement. And in this video, yes, I published the full video on my Telegram channel. In that video, it is shown that they really struggle, especially with dirt that goes between the wheel and the fairing, with bumps, with holes in the road, so it's total madness to assault with this formation. Well, not just electrical scooters were used by the Russian soldiers, there were also some of the all-terrain vehicles spotted, including the China-made golf carts, and also some of the armored vehicles plus infantry with no any transport. So Russia sent everything to one place, and you know, they simply didn't care of how those soldiers will get to the positions. One by one, simultaneously, there was no tactics, just a pure meat wave with no logic. Well, Azov Brigade was responsible for that area, and they managed to stop all of the Russian forces. Some of the Russians retreated to the Russian positions. After all, they were forced to do so, otherwise kaboom. Again guys, sorry I cannot show you the full video here. An enormous kaboom happened the last night in the Rostov region. The Ukrainian drone just blown up the Russian ammunition depot, causing this spectacular view. Looks much better than any kind of the firework. The fire reflection in the cloud and the fire itself was spotted from the very long distance. Yeah, you may say, Dennis, those are not the big news, but it is happening in Russia every day. It means that Ukraine little by little but transferring the war back to Russia. And you know, the last night there were kabooms reported again in Kazan, so it's the same tall building that was hit yesterday, and near it there were numerous of kabooms. Here's the bada boom. So the powder factory is located not very far away from this spot. I think that it is the main target now for Ukraine. But because Russia continued to use an electronic warfare, it's not always possible to reach the target. Alright, but what did Putin say about the strikes on Kazan, for example, Tatarstan, which is the part of the Russian Federation? Well, Putin, as usual, wants revenge. There were two of the discussions today with him where he said that there will be imminent revenge, so it caused more devastations for Ukraine than they caused to us, to Russians. And we may even use Oreshnik missile. Again, Oreshnik. Every day Oreshnik comes from Putin's mouth like something extraordinary. Somehow Putin is convinced that Oreshnik is the best of the best. And again, it's the diagnosis of the pure psychopath, which I said before Putin really is. He just said to Russians, Ukraine bomb you and it's fine. Be happy because we gonna cause them more devastation. Putin, just stop this war, withdraw your soldiers and Russians will be fine. Imagine the Russian who suffered because of the Ukrainian strike, maybe drone which was intercepted by the Russian electronic warfare. The drone went to the Russian apartment causing devastations, so that Russian should be happy because Putin will strike Ukraine with Oreshnik. I think that Putin definitely lives in some sort of the parallel reality where everyone supports him. All dictators think the same, I guess. They live in their informational bubble, but before, Russian supporter Prigozhin, who wanted by the time to get rid of Putin's power. And guys, it's understandable that Putin doesn't want to stop this war. He wants to continue. He feels comfortable, and as he says, action, движуха in this war. He is crazy bastard. You probably remember the case with ecological disaster which happened not far away from the Kerch Bay. Then two of the Russian tankers kaputted, crushed, and tons of the oil went into the sea. Well, what Russians did, they collected the oil into the special bags, but no one took those bags out from the beach. I saw many of the videos with tons of the local volunteers who gathered the oil, but now no one really cares about it after. Maybe it was all done for the Russian propaganda TV that, okay, we've done something, but what's the use? Because with those waves, everything will go back to the sea. It's useless job done. Logic, yes, it's the usual stuff for Russia. You see on this Russian video that volunteers collect some of the sand which was contaminated by the oil spill, but the bags were just left there. Guys, yesterday I was waiting for the video of the Russian convoy where they used vehicles with no any armor, basically civilian vehicles, but those are not civilians because they took the USSR flag and they went towards the Ukrainian positions. Well, today the video was published and I shared it on my Telegram group. It's hilarious as it shows complete kaboom of this convoy, especially the car which was carrying the USSR flag. And because of that, the losses for the Russian army again skyrocketed to the moon. There's analytic Andrei Perpetua. He analyzes all of the videos from the front lines, and well, in general, Russia loses more forces compared to Ukraine by around 3 times. However, Ukraine also loses a lot in defense currently, especially in the Kursk region where the last week Ukraine lost few of the Bradleys. Here, my friends, is one more useless Russian Medvedev attack which happened not far away from Kupiansk. So Russia put armored vehicles very close together and the Ukrainians were able to spot it and send many of the FPV drones. By the way, Russia is still struggling to replace their vehicle losses on the front lines with their military production. Even the head of the Russian military concerned about it. But for Putin, everything is normal. In his press conferences, he said that Russia is on the military rails, the economy is running faster than ever, many tanks are going to the front lines and other shit. But in fact, Russia is forced to export even some of the missiles from North Korea. Just yesterday, this image was taken in Russia, showing the possible delivery of the KN-15 North Korean middle-range ballistic missiles with a range close to 1,500 kilometers, so roughly 1,000 miles. So the range is even higher than for Iskander, and Russia may strike any point of Ukraine with this particular missile. It means one thing, that Ukraine should counteract to that stuff, producing its own weaponry, like for example controlled drone missiles, cruise missiles, or drones, long-range drones. Now guys, it's the time to review the situation on the front lines, and it is not good in many of the points of the front line for the Ukrainian army at first. But anyways, my duty is to speak about it, and 100% our guys continue to be encircled in Makarivka. No supplies, nothing, and up to 100 soldiers were left there. They were not able to get out, and Russians closed the lead of this pocket, and there is no way out actually. Because even Storozhevo now is in a gray area, so imagine this distance which our guys should cover. Let's measure 2 kilometers, No, Russia controls this area. They closed it. I think that it is impossible, and the only way for our guys to survive is to surrender and just, pray that Russians will not zero them. Yeah, guys, unfortunately there the situation is not good. There was no retreatment command done or withdrawal command done by Ukrainian military. Let's go to the satellite image, because here you can see that the gray area is expanded to reach this very critical important road, so it has already been cut actually, and it basically means the end of the defense for Velika Novosilka, because there are no supply lines. Like all of them here and here were cut. Here the gray area, it means that Ukraine cannot safely send the reinforcements or supplies, so the only way for Ukraine is to cross this river and go out from Velika Novosilka. I don't see the other choice. So what should have been done 10 days ago, even from my own perspective of the military analytic YouTuber, even though I'm not the expert in this field, but even for me it is understandable that Ukraine should have withdrawn the forces to Neskuchna to form the defense in this settlement, not to let Russians to cross this very important road and to get out the forces from the possible encirclement. And you know what? Nothing of that was done. And Russians just jump on the pace, increase their assaults, they jammed the Ukrainian forces, and now they cut the very important and the only supply road. So no words. Absolute failure for Ukrainian defense of Velika Novosilka. Even before the new year, Russia has the chances to advance and take it under control. In case they cut the supplies, they need few more days. And here the situation for Ukraine is more difficult, because there is the river, and now we may say that the Ukrainian army is basically jammed in this place. If there are no any Phantom bridges here, Ukraine will just leave its equipment, and again there is even the greater risk now of Ukrainian army in Velika Novosilka being encircled if Russians continue their move northbound. The only thing which might stop Russians is this part of the difficult terrain, but again they may go a little over here, then eastbound, so they have lots of the fields for their maneuvers. Probably Velika Novosilka is the worst situation for Ukrainian army for a very, very long time, I guess since Avdiivka, where the part of the Ukrainian forces were encircled, and also those who were wounded, I mean Ukrainian soldiers. Unfortunately, Russians just zeroed them. And also for today's update, Russians moved towards Zelenivka, but as I say to you, they actually moved more than we see on this military map. The question here is whether they were able to cross the river, because it could be very, very important. If Russians advance from this direction, they may create one more trap for Ukrainian army in Kurahovo itself, in this industrial part. So two of the main pockets, we'll see how it goes in the coming days. Yes guys, unfortunately we have what we have, and my duty is to tell you the real situation, truthful situation. This channel is not about pink ponies, rainbows and butterflies. No, if there is something wrong happening, I always say about it. Oh guys, it happened. Fika Fakafitsa visited Russian dictator in Moscow. I guess since the beginning of the war, it's the first visit of the Western leader to Moscow. Fico is really disappointed about the Russian gas that was cut for him by Ukraine. The Ukrainian government simply stated no more transition of the Russian gas. No more money should go to Russia to support their war against Ukraine. Again guys, it's a big game against Ukraine. Putin, Fico, Orban, they all want to accuse Ukraine for the wrongdoing, for not implementing some sort of the peace deal. All of that is being done to show the future White House administration that Ukraine is to blame for the continuation of the war, so United States should cut the military support for Ukraine. To some of the other political news, Donald Trump again said that he is willing to finish this war as soon as possible, Moscow as well as the war in the Middle East. He also noticed that Putin is willing to meet Donald Trump, so maybe they gonna meet. When it might happen, well, maybe even in January or March. However, Donald Trump is not the wizard from the Harry Potter series. No, he cannot really influence Putin for Putin to stop this war, unfortunately. As I've told you many times, basically there is nothing Donald Trump may propose for Putin, like what Trump might do to stop this war, to tell Putin, here you go, Ukraine is yours, but Ukraine will continue to defend itself even without the military support from the United States. And even Mr. Not to Escalate Jake Sullivan said that Russia should be pushed for the peace talks, not Ukraine. The same, by the way, we heard a couple of days ago from the Polish government, so it is understandable. If someone attacks the other country, the aggressor should withdraw the forces. It's logical, and the aggressor should be pushed, not the victim. Quite interesting, there are some of the protests now in Serbia. More than 100,000 people were spotted in the main square of Belgrade. They are protesting against the current government and President Vučić. Well, nothing more to say here for now. I'm gonna keep you updated on this situation. There are also protests ongoing in Georgia, but I think personally that they will lead to nowhere. They're not that powerful to get rid of the current regime in Georgia, unfortunately. Well, at least I think like that. Maybe I'm wrong, and in the nearby future we'll see how protests intensify. Because after all, I think majority doesn't like the pro-Russian government. Hard to say, but I think personally that there will be no changes. Wow, a crazy case happened with Russian Antonov 2 somewhere in Kamchatka. It was missing since yesterday, and finally a rescue team found the airplane together with the crew. Those are the pilots and there is their airplane. What caused this crash is basically severe icing of the airplane, so the conditions for the flight were not ideal, as you see. They spent the whole night in this freezing environment, and they survived because one of the guys used to serve in the Russian army, he said, and he knew how to survive in the winter conditions. Well, I guess that he was in Ukraine fighting for Russia the last winter. And guys, unfortunately there was the accident with the United States Navy. United States lost one of the fighter jets. As you can see here, it was shot down by their own air defense. Luckily, both of the pilots survived. It was FA-18 fighter jet. And to the sport news, our champion Alexander Usyk won the fight yesterday. It was interesting to watch, and luckily for this revenge, Usyk earned quite a lot compared to the first time. And guys, after all, it's good that people see Ukraine not just from the war perspective, but also they see the talented people from Ukraine, like for example Alexander Usyk, great sportsman, great boxer, and I think that he'll continue his career for several more years. And thanks again to Conflict of Nations, the sponsor of today's video. Don't miss your chance to take command and lead your country to victory. Click the link in the description to play for free and experience the thrill of real-time grand strategy. And let me know in the comments how your first campaign goes. Good luck, Commander. And now, my friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. As usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.